A packed schedule during his four-day visit to Palestine, the UAE and Oman from the 9th of this month. The Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone of a Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. At Oman, he'll address the Indian community at an event in Muscat. And this will be the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Palestine.
To further strengthen and cement diplomatic ties with West Asia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a historic three-day visit to Palestine, UAE and Oman on Friday. The visit will further improve ties between India and the Gulf nations in many bilateral fields, including commerce, defense, security, fight against terrorism and energy. Apart from this, talks will be held for cooperation in the field of investment and shipping and navigation. This is the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Palestine. Prime Minister Modi will arrive in Ramallah on Saturday morning. His visit begins with a tribute at the Yasser Arafat Museum before holding formal talks with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi begins his three-nation tour to West Asia and the Gulf countries on Friday. On Saturday, the Prime Minister arrives here in Ramallah, the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the state of Palestine, symbolizing that India stands committed to the Palestinian cause and there is no change of position as far as Palestine goes in India's policy.
Abbas paid a four-day visit to India in May 2017 that included delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Modi. He will also host a banquet lunch in honor of PM Modi, and the two leaders will hold bilateral talks.
This visit will definitely open a new chapter, a new page in the bilateral relations. You would have already read that this visit follows a period of 3 years of regular and intense high-level visits between India and Palestine, starting from the historic first visit by President in October 2015, where he was the first president to have had overnight stay here in Ramallah.
The Prime Minister will then continue the next leg of his visit to the UAE. This is his second visit to the Emirates in 2 years. In Dubai, Prime Minister would address the 6th World Government Summit. India has been extended the guest of honor status at this event. A chef has been entrusted with special arrangements for the food for Prime Minister.
हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी वेजिटेरियन हैं, शाकाहारी हैं, तो हमने उसी हिसाब से तैयारियां करी हैं. पिछले 4-5 दिन से हम गुजराती फूड ट्राई कर रहे हैं, खाकड़ा, फाफड़ा, ढोकला, और जैसे कि मोदी जी बहुत लाइट खाना खाते हैं, उसी लिए हमारी तैयारियां भी वैसे ही हैं.
The Prime Minister will speak about government's vision for using technology for fostering development. He will also meet the Indian community in Abu Dhabi and lay foundation stone of a Hindu temple to be built in the city. In 2015 too, Prime Minister Modi had interacted with the Indian community. Prime Minister will meet the UAE Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. He will also hold meetings with Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan to develop the comprehensive strategic partnership between the nations. In an interview given to a newspaper, Prime Minister has said that new government-to-government initiatives promise to add even more strength to the bilateral cooperation. Energy security and infrastructural investments in India will be key topics discussed. The UAE is home to over 3 million people of Indian origin. The Indian community has acted as a bridge between the two countries, and I hope my visit will further strengthen these ties. After a 2-day stay in UAE, the Prime Minister will visit Oman for the first time. He will hold meetings with Omanese leadership to deepen ties in trade and defense. Cooperation in security and counter-terrorism will also be discussed. Prime Minister Modi would also interact with the Indian expatriates during a community event in a stadium. He will also visit the Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque and a Shiva temple in Oman. India gets 50% of its oil and 60 to 65% of LNG gas from the Gulf region. As many as 90 lakh Indians stay in the Gulf and send $35 billion every year in terms of remittance. Keeping this in mind, ramping up cooperation in trade, investment and energy security are likely to dominate the agenda during the Prime Minister's visit. With inputs from Neeraj Singh and Amrit Pal Singh, Newsnight Desk, DD News.
Well, the Prime Minister is all set to embark on that historic visit to West Asia, and in a series of tweets, the Prime Minister shared his views on the tour ahead and his expectations also from the visit. And he said in both Oman and the UAE will have the opportunity to meet large Indian diasporas that have made those countries their home. Oman is a close maritime neighbor with whom we enjoy excellent relations. I will hold talks with His Majesty, the Sultan of Oman, and other leaders. There shall be interactions with business persons of Oman on developing stronger economic links with India. There will be interactions with leading UAE and Arab CEOs in Dubai on the vast economic opportunities in India and what more can be done together to increase business collaboration. At the invitation of the leadership of the UAE, I will be addressing the 6th edition of the World Government Summit in Dubai, where India is the guest country of honor. In UAE, I will hold talks with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. And Amritpal Singh now joins us from Ramallah. Let's connect with him. Well, Amrit, put into context the significance of this visit to Palestine.
Well, this is marked the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister. So 70 years since, India became independent, this is the first time that an Indian Prime Minister is visiting the state of Palestine. So it's historic. It sends out a message, a very strong and a clear message that India remains committed to the Palestine cause and stands behind Palestine for the creation of a sovereign, independent Palestine, which peacefully coexists with Israel. India's traditional position has been that, we believe in a two-state solution.
Yes.
Questions were being asked that, with the growing warmth between Indo-Israel ties, will it cast a shadow on the Indo-Palestine relations? So the Prime Minister's this visit would send a clear signal that even as Prime Minister visited Israel last year, and we saw Benjamin Netanyahu come to India just a month back, India sees these two countries, its relation with these two countries, independent of each other on separate tracks, and does not see any contradiction in that.
Amrit, what exactly is on the agenda?
Well, the bilateral talks would cover the entire gamut of relationship. We could expect some 5 to 6 MOUs to be signed, primarily in the sectors of health, IT, education, skills training, and people-to-people contacts. As you know, about $4.5 million India has already given to Palestine for the construction of a technology park, IT park here in Ramallah. Once constructed, it will be a great, that will be the flagship techno park of Ramallah. So Palestine understands that India, given being an IT power, it stands to gain much. Secondly, in terms of skill development, there's much India can do, and also look at that how to increase the trade between the two countries. Currently, it stands at about $40 million US dollars a year, and how it can be enhanced. What all areas can India and Palestine look into cooperation to increase this figure?
Thanks very much, Amritpal Singh, joining us from Ramallah.